have been absolutely big mistakes, in some cases even bigger mistakes than elsewhere in the UK.
Like what?
For example, care homes. We should never have been sending COVID positive patients into care homes, and what's happened as a consequence is over 3,000 deaths in our care homes and the second worst death rate in care homes anywhere in Europe. That's not acceptable, that's not good enough, and someone needs to take responsibility.
The University of Stirling led a study looking at the increase in excess deaths, key measure, in care homes, and they found that figure was England 79%, Wales 66%, Scotland 62%. So on this measure, Scotland is not the worst in Europe, as you say, or the second worst in Europe. It's third worst in the UK.
Well, look, you're talking about excess deaths. I'm talking directly about the COVID deaths in terms of verified COVID deaths.
Well, you've picked a statistic. You could pick another one, which discredits the one that you've picked, Mr. Sarwar.
No, but of course. But just to emphasise, I don't want to play these games about we're a couple of percent below here or we're a couple of percent above there. Fundamentally, the point is this. 3,000 people have lost their lives in our care homes, and that's partly due to the fact that we sent COVID positive patients into care homes. That is unforgivable. That doesn't require medical advice. That's common sense.
Yes, you say it's common sense. But were you saying that in the Scottish Parliament in March and April last year?
Absolutely I was. Absolutely
Are you
I was.
sure?
Absolutely I was. I was absolutely saying that we should not be sending COVID positive patients.
In March and April last year?
Absolutely. I was saying last year that we should make sure that we are testing every individual before they're discharged into a care home. They should be confirmed as negative before they go into a care home.
We know you don't want independence. So in December last year, Keir Starmer announced a constitutional commission led by Gordon Brown. And you said in the coming months, everyone in Scotland can take part in that process. How many people in Scotland have taken part in that process?
Well, there was a leadership election in the process of that happening. We have been in the job now in 8 weeks, and that work is continuing. If we're true to delivering a recovery that works for everyone, then we've got to devolve power out from the parliaments, both Westminster and Holyrood, into the nations and regions of the UK and into local communities across Scotland.
Keir Starmer called this constitutional commission the boldest project Labour has embarked on for a generation. And almost half a year has passed, and you seem to be telling me nothing much has actually happened.
Well, look, there are things happening, and Gordon Brown is doing that work.
This might all sound awfully familiar to voters, a bit like Groundhog Day, because in 2017, Labour launched another constitutional commission involving Gordon Brown.
Yep.
What was the outcome of that one?
Look, and the outcome of that was greater powers for the Scottish Parliament, but
2017.
But the fundamental point I'm making is too many people see devolution as some kind of political fix or as some kind of game or something to stop independence. The reason why I talk about devolution is because I truly believe in it.
Well, what was the outcome of the 2017 Constitutional Commission that Gordon Brown was involved in?
I'm part of a devolution generation. I've only known us to have a Scottish Parliament. And I'm not going to answer for previous commissions when, to be frank, I was on the back benches.
Briefly on Trident, it's a huge issue for Labour and for the country. Do you support the renewal of Trident?
Look, the Scottish Party has a clear position, and that was outlined by our leader, who was Kes Dugdale at the time, who was our leader in our Scottish conference, took a policy position. I have no intention of us reopening that debate and that argument. But my own view is I want to rid Scotland of nuclear weapons, I want to rid the UK of nuclear weapons, I want to rid the world of nuclear weapons. But I think we need to be even more ambitious than just choosing to move nuclear weapons 300 miles down the road.
Labour's Shadow Defence Secretary said recently, Labour's support for the UK's nuclear deterrent is non-negotiable. The matter is settled. So is that UK Labour putting Scottish Labour in their place?
No, look, we have to advocate what Scottish Labour policy is. But the point I would make around that...
The matter is settled, Mr. Sarwar.
Yeah, but
it doesn't matter what Scottish Labour think. UK Labour has told you the matter is settled.
Look, not at all. What he means by that is we need international cooperation to reduce the number of warheads and to remove nuclear weapons from across the country.
The reason I ask is that, rightly or wrongly, there's a perception that when push comes to shove, Scottish Labour falls into line behind UK Labour. So can you give me an example of something that you and Keir Starmer have disagreed on since you became leader?
One thing is disciplinary processes. I want us to have much more robust disciplinary processes in Scotland, so we're not having to wait years for decisions to be made elsewhere. I lead the Scottish Labour Party. I'm the boss in Scotland, and I'm unequivocal about that. Keir Starmer knows that, and the UK Labour Party knows that.
Anna Sarwar, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, in that exchange, you heard Anas Sarwar insist. He spoke out in March and April last year about discharging patients into care homes. After the interview, we asked Scottish Labour to back this up, and they were not able to point us to any statements to that effect from Anas Sarwar in March and April 2020. But they did share with us remarks on this subject from April last year from the Scottish Labour health spokesperson at that time. But Anas Sarwar is a new leader. There are big plans in his manifesto, but by his own admission, he's realistic about his prospects.